So hello and welcome to PTC's monthly ISV session. All participants today are in mute mode, so if you do have any questions during the session, please put them in the chat area. I'm sure that we will have time at the end to review all questions. Today we'll be hearing about eOne's POPDOCK product, and joining us is none other than the man himself, Mr. eOne, Martin Olson. We've been a long-time partner with eOne and regularly suggest their products to our clients and prospects. I'm not going to take any of Martin's thunder away here, so I'll just let him start off. Go ahead, Martin.
Thank you, Michael. I'm glad to be here today, and we'll buzz through for the next 30 minutes or so, and hopefully show you some things that gets you excited and helps you get more and more out of the investment you have in Great Plains. And the investment you have in all the other software that you use to do your job every day in business. So I appreciate it. As you can tell, I'm not from the state of New York. I'm actually from Australia originally, but I'm living here in Fargo, North Dakota. So I look out the window and we had, I think, 4 inches of snow last night. So it's a beautiful day. It's currently, I think, 1 degree below in Fargo. So glad to be inside talking to you guys. So POPDOCK, what POPDOCK is, I'm going to start off here by giving you a look at exactly what we're talking about. So the first screen here, and I'm going to jump into the software very quickly, but it's very much like Smart Lists. It's a list-based reporting tool, but you're going to access it to a browser and or your iPhone. So what we've done over the last, 18 years, and I think 7 years ago I worked with Michael, is we built SmartList and SmartList Builder, which most of you are familiar with. And you know that you love SmartLists and can't live without it. What we decided was that it wasn't fair that SmartList was only available for just GP data. We figured that SmartList environment should be available for all of your data. So any data in your business, no matter where it's coming from, whether that's data you've got somewhere in a SQL server or it's another cloud app. And as you know, it's very easy now to sign up for a new cloud app. I discovered that eOne here, we use 24 different pieces of software. And I think most businesses are the same. The one thing that frustrates you about that is logging into each one every time you need to find something out. So we said, look, we know we love SmartList and list reporting and filtering, so let's bring that to the entire business. So let's include GP data as well as all the other sorts of data and bring that into one single interface. Second thing we said is you want the data wherever you might be. So we've taken it to a browser first. So any browser, anywhere, you can log into and see all of your GP data as well as all of your other data. And you can also take it with you to your son's soccer game or your daughter's soccer game, or football or gymnastics, whatever it might be, and you can never escape the office now because you'll be able to get your data wherever you happen to be. So really POPDOCK becomes the future of Smart Lists. We've made Smart Lists better, but it is really ensuring that you get that reporting experience, not just now, but you get that for the next 10 or 15 years. So whatever software you choose to run, we'll be able to point POPDOCK at that and give you that Smart List look and feel. So that might be more cloud software, it might be timesheet software, it might be another membership system, it could be more transport software. And God forbid, Great Plains is not necessarily the thing you want to use now and you're moving on. POPDOCK will go with you. So that reporting experience will sit across whatever applications you choose to use. What can it do that SmartList can't? As I said, it can get data from anywhere. And it can merge and join that data so you can get systems into one list. Will display on your cell phone, gives it to you in a browser. Importantly, so if you don't like the interface, you can run them directly. Ideal for those accountants that do more with the data than just look at it. And it will also let you embed data in other applications. So if you've got someone using a CRM system and they will never log out of CRM, they spend all their day in CRM, you can give them data and embed data from POPDOCK into that environment. So that might be sharing GP data with people that are in the CRM system, or it might be sharing CRM system back into GP, or it could be picking a third-party app and embedding the data into those applications. So I'll show you some examples of that. The beauty is we get a single user interface, one way to get at all your data, one way to work with it, without having to learn the reporting systems of every cloud application you've got. If you think about it, you go to the payroll application, getting data is very different. For me, I go to my Braintree credit card gateway, getting data is really difficult and not as and the reporting mechanisms of all these tools. POPDOCK means I no longer have to do that. I like to talk about small data reporting. You'll hear Microsoft talk a lot about big data and business intelligence. Here I'm talking about how do you get the real data you need to do your job. So people that have real jobs that have to dig in and get the data they want for everyday jobs. This is not for big business analytics. We're not here doing a 5-year analysis. This is give me the piece of data I need right now to do my job faster and better. So it's one that applies to all users, and you probably eliminate the senior management because they want the pretty pie chart to do the analysis. All right, so as I said, it's not BI, it's not big data, it's really for the individual user. People that have real jobs and do real things. And I'll jump off PowerPoint. I think we need to jump into the product. Importantly, as I said, you can connect to anything. We've got 60 different connection points now, and if you need a new one, it takes us a few days to connect to a new API and give you that data through this environment. So really, anything you need, we'll be able to connect to. The best bit is it's really cheap, $19 a user. That's all it costs. So we're not talking about a big expensive product. So don't hang off the call now. I think I can't afford it. Everybody can afford what we're talking about. All right, let's jump into some product. So let's jump out of PowerPoint and let me share this with you. So POPDOCK is a cloud-delivered software as a service solution. So you would come to popdock.com, and that is where you log in. Logging in here as me and my password connects me to the connections I have set up, and the connections will give me access to all of my data. So when I sign in, and I have to give you a word of warning, what I'm showing you today is live data from my internal accounting system, and from our systems. I use POPDOCK every day, and I think it's the best way to show you how I use it. So I've got a tab across the top, and each of these tabs is the same as a smart list favorite. So a favorite I've saved and I want to use over and over again, I have listed across the top as a tab. So I've got one here called GP Today. That's my favorite one. When I come in here, my little guy Skippy runs off and goes and grabs all the data from my GP environment, which is hosted on Azure, somewhere out in Microsoft land, and comes back and shows me sales line items. So you can see from this breadcrumb here, I'm looking at GP, I'm looking at the eOne database, I'm looking at the sales module, and I grab the sales lines, and I grab my favorite called GP Today, and that plays straight to the screen. Now, just like SmartList, I can do all the kind of things you would expect. So I can click Show Columns, and it gives me every piece of data related to sales line items, and I can go and grab whatever I would like from here. So if we wanted to grab, I don't know, let's think, really doesn't matter. Let's grab the currency ID and add that into this field. Runs off, and it's doing a new query, just like SmartList would, to bring that data back. And we now have the currency ID. Now, as you can see, I've got a few too many columns, so I'll hide that. We can now see it better. But if I didn't want all of this data, I don't need the originating cost or the originating price. I can click down here and remove those columns. So one screen, we don't need the city in here, and I don't need originating price, I will take those out to give me control of what I'm looking at. I can then move things around. So if I want the currency up the front, I move the columns to where I'd like them to sit. Then the next thing I do is I can click up here to find some data. So there's something specific I wanted to find, and I was looking for something from the company Topaz. I'll type that in straight up here, and it automatically goes through and finds me that record, because that's what I was after. If I take that out, we'll go back to our full list. So that's pretty cool. I can then obviously change my filters. So at the bottom of the screen here, you'll see that's where all the filtering is done. So here I've got GP related data, SOP type equals invoice, account amount equals 0, document date equals today, and the void status because I don't want void transactions. So I can change that and say, look, let's not pick up today. I want to pick up, let's enter a date. So start of week, end of week. Those are really cool functions for reporting. But I don't want to just type in today's date. So I'll enter a value and say, what did we sell on Friday? So we'll pick the 18th. When I click OK, it's running off now, same query, but back on those dates. And we can see everything we saw. Now, one of the tricks is here. I thought I was just getting Friday, but I'm going, well, that's too much. We didn't sell that much software on Friday. And that's because I made the mistake of saying where the document date is greater than or equal to Friday. So I included all the days since Friday, so I was getting a good number. But I can go and add an unlimited number of filters and just continue to add, hit the plus. Each of these I could have whatever filter I wanted. So I wanted only where the quantity equals 1, because we usually sell 1 copy of the software. I could match any of these. So an unlimited number of filters to get exactly the data you want. Now, what I started off was this GP data. The second thing I do every day is I like to know how much we've been selling of a particular product. So that's my daily snapshot. Then I have one for this month, and this is called how much Smart Connect, which is one of our other products, did I sell this month? That's the second thing I click on. Skippy's now looking for the whole month of data. So my filter is here, anything that's in this month, and it goes and pulls all the products that meet my criteria. So you can see here when I look at my filter, it's significantly more complex. So I've got things like it must match this user category value. It must not contain the word renewal because I want to filter out all our AEP renewals. I just want new product. And so my complex filter gives me the exact data I want to get into this report. Now, if I want to work with that in other ways, I can. So I get my data list. I can see that, if I'd like, as a chart. So I can flip this one and say, let's see that as a bar chart. I can see it sideways. I can see it as a pie chart. Or, like me, I love to see the number. And so I do this, and it tells me exactly how many we've sold for the month. We're at 38 new products. And that's a really nice visual. And that's the kind of one you might give to your management team. So that's the visual. How many are we up to? 38. I don't have to do any other analysis. And I can flip from that chart straight back to the list and work with the list of data. The other thing I can do is dump this out to Excel. So if I want to work with this in Excel, I can click Export. And down here, it's going to open a spreadsheet. And all of that data it's open on my other monitor. Let me move this up. All that matching data is directly in here into my spreadsheet now, and we can see the same set of data. Where it gets really cool now is that I can go and see in this same environment and all the functionality I showed you on non-GP data. So if you start thinking about the other data your business has that doesn't sit in GP, and the other roles, what is the warehouse using? What are the project managers using? What's the marketing team using? What's the sales team using? And how do you get access to that? And how do you share data with them? And can they get into this same environment to see it? So I come across to here, and I'm going to click on Accounts. When I click on the Accounts tab, you'll notice from a little breadcrumb as it's running, I'm now looking at Dynamics CRM. I'm looking at the sales module of CRM, and I'm looking at Accounts. Now it came back with no records, so I look at my filter, and it was looking for only people where the city in address 1 equals Fargo. I don't want that in here, so I'm going to get rid of that filter and let it run again. So now it's come back with the first 100 records out of my accounts list. And so that's full CRM data. Now, if I look through here and find the guy I was looking for, I could send an email and do some actions directly from here. So I could click on this email address, and that's going to run off, and it's going to create an email and start it. Now, let's put it on my other screen. So straight away, I'm now actioning the data that I saw, and I can send an email to Judd and get this running. So that's my CRM data. I can also flick through here, and I said use this breadcrumb. So I can look at accounts, but I might want to look at opportunities now. So I want to look at Luke's opportunities. Luke's one of my new sales team. I'd like to know what Luke's up to. Is he working the territory hard enough? Is he going to sell some stuff coming up here? So I take Luke's opportunities, and it runs off, and it now comes back to give me all the things Luke's working on. And as you've seen, I haven't had to leave my environment yet. Whoa, I broke that one. To get all the data out of GP and or CRM. Right, the third one I want to go to is this tab here called Transactions. So when I click on Transactions, you'll notice it's changed the breadcrumb. So it's now looking at Braintree transactions. Now that's got nothing to do with Dynamics GP. This is now a cloud application, which is where our credit cards get processed. So if I want to find out what's been going through our credit card system, I come to this transaction or this tab, and I'm now seeing anybody whose account has been declined, and then all the transactions that were settled by the bank, and at the bottom of the screen, all the ones that were settled. I think that's all we've got. There was one other. No, that's all we've got today. And I can search and find. You notice I've grouped these into each group. So the status field here I dragged up to the top to group. I could take that out, and I could group by date, for example. And now everything's dropped into date buckets. So I get subtotals for each date. So grouping and subtotaling become very easy. Now all the things that I wanted, I could filter. I can go to my columns, and I can see that. Is all available on this data now. So exactly how I treated GP data, I can treat Braintree data. And so the list goes on. I can go to, let me jump back to POPDOCK and look at connectors. These are the pre-built connectors we have. These coming soon, I think, are already available. And all of these you can connect in. So whether that's UPS or USPS or FedEx, or you need Shopify information because you sell on there, or Amazon or eBay, or you need some Insightly CRM, or your marketing team wants to see their Instagram posts, you get access to any of that data through these APIs, and you can pull that data back. So an example for the marketing team, I'll pick one more here, which is my links tab. Here I'm connecting to a completely separate service again. This is the short URL, the short website name we put on our blogs and posts on things like LinkedIn. This is connecting to that service to tell me how many people have been clicking on my recent links in various places I posted them. So I will sort by clicks. This will be an interesting test. I'll go to the bottom and see this article we wrote about man buns and Dynamics NAV had 29 clicks on it. Not exactly making me famous, but we can see that. Now I can drill on that link. So if I want to go back and see what article that was, what are the ones people are liking, we can click on that link. It's going to take me directly through to the eOne blog where we have that sitting. I'd like to point out that I have had my hair cut since then, so it's not looking like that. So that's the base concept of POPDOCK. Where you've got all of these tabs, you define what they are, and you build your own reports to give you what you want. Now we talked about also the ability to build your own from scratch. So these are all my pre-built lists, but if there's a list you like, just like Smart List Builder, you can go and build that list on any data source. So we've got Smart List Builder for web services for any of these cloud apps to say, hey, let's grab those services, join them together, link them, merge them, and build a new report directly into here for what you want to see. So I'm going to just jump across to a different environment for a second. Let me pull this one up. I'm going to log into POPDOCK again. Just want to show you a different account. On our internal eOne one, the developers have decided that I'm not smart enough to get full access to all the development, so I only get that in my test environment. They think I might break the system. But when I log into here, this version of POPDOC's actually pointing at Microsoft's new Business Central environment, so their new Business Central ERP. So again, we've connected to that environment to give them the exact same reporting experience that you get on Dynamics GP. When I take sales invoices, actually I want invoices, not that one. Let's take this one over here, sales invoices. What I get to do here is on any given invoice, I've got a little option at the bottom to show details. So if I expand that out, what it's going to do is show me the invoice line items on the bottom of the screen. So we've built a link to say, hey, tie the invoice header together with the invoice lines, and I'll see that at the bottom of the screen. In itself is pretty cool. What I can also do, though, is use this action to go and open the invoice in the application where it started. So while I'm seeing the data here, if I want to go and just open the actual app and see it, I can drill back to see that information. The building of your own here under connectors, this is where I get to do all of my Smart List Builder type functionality across any of these connections that I've got built in here. So with each one of these, I could link in a new connector, and that's where it gives me my full connector list. As simple as choosing one of these and putting my login and password in, and I'm now getting data out of any of those applications. Back on step. The GP example, what I get to do in here is see all the existing lists, or if I go to the bottom, I've got custom lists. So adding a custom list lets me join data, merge data, summarize data to build up my own list. So I simply say this list connects to another list, which connects to another list. They all join together, and it gives me one set of data. So you need to get creative, and that's where your IT team can come up with some very cool solutions to get all the right data to all the right people. And that's the important part of a business, is to make sure people can see what they need to see to do their job best, which is the perfect scenario. All right, I'm going to go to one more thing. One of the things on the PowerPoint we talked about was I said you could embed the data where you needed to see it. So here I've logged into Microsoft CRM. So I'm in here, and let's say I'm a salesperson. I'm in the marketing team, and I work on marketing activities. What I've got here is I've pulled up, if we go back a level, but I've pulled up campaigns. So I want to go and have a look at all the campaigns we've got running. In this example, I'm going to CRM user group at Summit 2018. So we created a campaign. And this is not real data. This one's pretend data. But what I've got at the bottom of the screen here is embedded is a POPDOCK grid. So this is one of my POPDOCK favorites, which is show me a list of invoices. Now it's only showing me a list of invoices that match with the campaign ID that I've selected here, being CRM user group. So it's looking into my ERP, finding all the invoices that tied with that campaign, and then displaying GP invoices here inside my CRM environment to share that with the sales team. So what we've got is just a small grid of that information sitting here. We don't put all of the functionality like searching and finding, and we've got the search, but not finding and not adding your own columns or doing your own filters, because this is a pre-built report with its own filters already built in, and it's based upon the record I choose up at the top here. So it's another way of using POPDOCK, is embedding it to get the right data to the right people at exactly the right time. I've got another version of that. I showed you that big number graph. This one here is 25,279, which is the total. So that is simply embedding that big number graph of POPDOCK into this little box here. So you'll note that 25,000 ties together with this 25,000 here. All of that data is GP data, nothing to do with CRM, but it's embedded here inside Microsoft CRM. So it's really fulfilling on some of Microsoft's promises of having all of their systems connected. So you can share that data to all the right people, and they get access to it. So that's been pretty quick, but really that's what I wanted to cover off on POPDOCK. A really simple tool that lets you get access to everything you want. Now, it takes your GP data and makes it accessible via a browser, so you can share it with a lot more people. You can share it with people that don't have a GP license, and then you can include external data, and I think that's the most important part. So oftentimes we have our GP data in a silo, but exposing it, joining it, merging it, and seeing all of the data you want to do your job in one place is the perfect scenario. So I've been using this for about a year now, and I don't ever log into GP anymore. I don't ever log into CRM. I do all of my searching, finding, discovering things directly out of POPDOCK. So I won't talk all day. I didn't want to take up too much of your time, but hopefully you've seen something there that makes sense. That's going to hopefully make your day a lot better when you get this up and running. So I don't know, Michael, have we got any questions coming in, or have everybody either fell asleep or they're so excited they don't need to ask questions?
We had a couple questions come in. One of the things, somebody made a comment here about, let's see, one of the things we love about SmartList is the ability to drill down within GP. Can we still have that same type of functionality with POPDOCK?
Given POPDOCK is in a browser, POPDOCK won't drill you into traditional GP. It will allow you to drill into the web client. So the GP web client you can get access to. So you can open another browser and pass that data through to open web client screens. We don't drill back into the on-premise GP just because web browsers don't like calling dexterity, and that gets complex. So there's a lot of actions, as you can see here. These actions over on the right are where I can drill down. So that example I showed you, now it's not GP, it was Business Central. Let me go back home. So I'll pull this one up here and we'll take the first record. My little cog here is my go-to, and so that will let me go and open that invoice just like you would at a GP, and it takes me in here. And in a second now, we'll display that invoice. So it's logged me back and let me do exactly what you asked for. We don't do it, or can't technically do it, to the out-of-the-box GP. So there's some things we can, but that one, no.
Okay, but we can go back to the web client, which is a good thing.
Can go back to the web client, so you can actually get access to the data. Yeah. Now, again, that's only useful if you have a license for those products. So again, you need a login to the web client to be able to get back into it. So for those users, say in the warehouse, that you don't want to buy a GP license for, drill down doesn't help them a lot. But if you do have access, then you're perfect into the web client.
All right, very good. Thank you. Your question was on the pricing. You'd mentioned that it's $19 per month, and that is a named user, correct?
Yes, for per user per month. So you pay for how many people you would like to add in, and it calculates it from there, and off you go. So you can add and subtract whenever you'd like. So it's true SaaS. If you have a busy period or more people, you can add them. If you don't need all those people, you can start winding that back. So if I pull up here, it's all driven, and we didn't really talk about this, but driven through my login in here, and you get to do it all yourself. So if we come into my account, I think I haven't done this for a while. And I'm an administrator on this account. So it's looking at how many users we've got, but I can come into here and invite new users, and that will invite them to join and get them in here. So one of the beauties here is you can actually share components of your data with anyone. So you can add a user. They could be your external accountant. They could be a customer if you had limited security down to say, hey, you get access to your project data. We're going to show you all your timesheets directly through here. So you can give access to a third party. You would obviously put a lot of security on them, but they can see certain lists that you make available through POPDOCK. So it's purely inviting those named users here, and that will drive the billing process.
Okay.
Just on that one, Michael, I think there was another question I saw on security. And security is obviously very important because we're now sharing data out to people that are outside of the system. So you get complete control here at a user or a team level. And then each user, we'll look at this team, will then decide what you have access to. So this group here, accounting, does not have access to any connectors. I can then go through and choose which connectors I will give them access to. So if I gave them GP access, then there's a layer of list security. So every single list under that connector, you get to decide what they have access to. So right down to that, you've got full security over who can see what. So that's at the administrator level, and you choose what you release and what you don't release. Sorry, back to you.
Okay, very good. Anything else that you wanted to share? I'm not seeing any other questions come in.
Okay. Look, I think that's enough. I don't want to bore people and spend too long talking because I could talk about this all day.
That we know. That we know.
But I won't.
All right. Well, then we'll go ahead and wrap this up, I guess. Thank you for everyone joining us today. If you do have any other questions, please reach out to us at www.ptcllc.com. Again, this is Michael Gummel from Paradigm Technology Consulting. You can reach me at mgummel@ptcllc.com. If you want to check out more, if you want to review this, this will be posted up to our YouTube site either later on this afternoon or tomorrow. So if you have any other questions, please let us know. Otherwise, Martin, thank you very much for joining us today. Very good presentation as always, and look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, Michael. You guys have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
Bye.